Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is the mid-year book freakout tag. Okay, so June was a shit show for me personally, and then the country decided it was going to melt down as well, so, you know, chaos and negativity all around. I didn't really read a ton. There were no videos posted because I just mentally couldn't bring myself to do it, but I decided that July I was going to dust myself off, pick myself up, and just carry on as best we can. So I figured this would be a good time to do the mid-year freakout tag because there are some books that I haven't, you know, shared in videos. I don't really do a ton of wrap-ups and things like that, so I figured this would be a good spot to talk to you about those books. So, without further ado, the first question is, what's the best book you've read so far? I'm going to go with Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lo. I did talk about that in a video, and I'll tag like video cards and stuff as we go through, but I absolutely adored that book. It was set in the, I think, late 40s, following a queer Chinese-American teenager in San Francisco's Chinatown. And the Telegraph Club is this lesbian club down the street from her that is a very transformative experience. I really enjoyed not only the time frame and kind of getting to understand from a historical stance what it would look like for someone living at that time, because you also have to think we were in the midst of like the Red Scare time, like Joseph McCarthy, like everyone's afraid of communism. World War II, I think it just ended, so there's a lot going on. And then on top of that, you have a teenager who in the 40s is figuring out that she's queer, and she doesn't really know what to do with that. She doesn't really know what it means. She just knows that she's not like everyone else around her, and that she's not going to be able to fulfill her parents' expectations of her, you know, getting married, raising a family in the way that they expect. And so you kind of follow her along dealing with all of these scary things because her parents are immigrants. At one point her dad gets his like green card taken by the FBI because they're questioning him about something that really doesn't have anything to do with him, but they just know that they can threaten him because they can. And so you have this girl dealing with that, and then her own personal life. And generally speaking, I tend to shy away from YA just because it is, you know, it tends to be a little over dramatic to me. I'm in my 30s, like I'm not the target audience, and so I tend to shy away from it and, you know, read other things, but I don't know, there's something about this book that I just thoroughly enjoyed. I could not put it down, so that is the best book I've read so far this year. Best sequel I've read was A Dangerous Collaboration by Deanna Raybourn. It's the 4th book in the Veronica Speedwell series. That series had me by the throat earlier this year. Absolutely loved it. I'm fully caught up. It's so fun. That one in particular, they're on an island. I say they're Veronica and Stoker, who are like the main pairing of the series, are on an island dealing with a case with his brother and some friends, and it's just chaotic and fun and a little thriller, lots of mystery, and it's a wang dang doodle of a time. And if you haven't read that series, I definitely recommend it. The first book, I will say, is probably one of the weakest, if not the weakest of the series, but it's just so good. And I absolutely love the audiobooks for this series. I think they're so well done. The accents are great, so if you get a chance to read it, I definitely recommend. And if you read the first book and you're like, I'm not sure, just know it's really just there to set up the other 6 to follow, so it's definitely worth your time. Definitely worth your time. What is a new release you haven't read yet but want to? You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Kweke Emeze. I don't know what it's about. I just know Kweke Emeze wrote it, and that's why I want to read it. They wrote The Death of Vivek Oji. I want to say 2 years ago is when it came out. That book broke me into pieces. It was immaculate, incredible, and I will just read anything that Kweke Emeze puts out, so I'm very excited to get to that soon here, I hope, depending on when my library hold comes in. What is your most anticipated release for the second half? I don't remember the title of the book, but it's the 3rd book in the Beartown series from Frederick Bachman. I've been waiting for him to wrap up that series for what feels like my entire booktube career, which, not booktube, bookstagram. The entire time I've been on bookstagram, which actually isn't that far off, because I feel like that was one of the first like books that I saw kind of get a ton of attention on bookstagram like shortly after I joined, and I absolutely loved Beartown, and I was like, oh man, like I gotta read that. And so it was just a really good time. I think it's called Winners. Yeah, The Winners is the third book in the series. So yeah, it's Beartown, Us Against You is book 2, and then The Winners is book 3. And so I am impatiently waiting for that to come out. I think it comes out in August or September. But I'm very, very excited to dive into that and just kind of see how everything wraps up. Beartown was about a girl whose dad, I think, owned a hockey franchise. I'm pretty sure he owned the pro league, and then like their obviously like leads for the kids, and she's attacked by like one of the most popular players. I say attacked. And it's basically the following of like after her sexual assault, like what happens to the town, and that's continues in the second book, and you just see just this trickle down effect of just hurt and chaos. But Frederick Bachman's writing is so great for hard things like that. He just takes such care and does so well with developing a large cast of characters that you don't feel lost. Like, I want to say at one point you're following like 6 different people, and I think Us Against You. And sometimes in books like that, that can be really, really challenging, but he just handles it so well, and you're so invested in what's going to happen to each of them that you don't feel like you're sacrificing your time learning about, you know, one of the side characters when, I forget the girl's name right now, but she's obviously the main character, but you don't lose out on that time, and by learning about the other people's stories, it makes it just so much more well developed. So I'm excited to see how he ends the trilogy there. Ooh, what book was your biggest disappointment? Okay, don't hate me for this, because the biggest surprise was also by this author, but my biggest disappointment was Beach Read by Emily Henry. I DNF'd this last year, so I probably should have known, but I just thought it was me. I was kind of going through a period of time where reading contemporary just wasn't working out for me, so I just thought like, oh, like I'm not in my contemporary bag right now, let me put that bag right back on the shelf and move on to something else, and I did, and then I tried to come back to it. I hated it. I want to say I gave it 2.5 stars, was not a good time. But then, almost immediately after, I think I read one book in between as a palate cleanser, but almost immediately after, I read Book Lovers and was obsessed. Absolutely obsessed. Gus and Liv felt like the fleshed out version of the couple from Beach Read. It was incredible. I absolutely loved it. I don't have book crushes, but Gus is everything. We stand that man. My other biggest surprise was Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. I am not a standard epic fantasy girly. It has never been my thing. I've dabbled a little here and there in some lighter kind of urban fantasy, specifically from like V.E. Schwab, and I've enjoyed that kind of stuff, but I've never dove into like a behemoth of a fantasy book before, and Warbreaker held my attention for like 3 days. It was the only thing I read. It was incredible. I can't get enough. Brandon Sanderson might be a new favorite author, and I've only read one book from him, so that's crazy. Oh, that's the next question. Favorite new author. So Brandon Sanderson gets a point there, but also so does Sylvain Nouvelle. I started I forget what the series is called, but it's Sleeping Giants, Waking Gods, and Only Human. I read Sleeping Giants and started Waking Gods, and then I was like, wait, I should vlog this. I'm enjoying this a lot. So I'm going to reread it, and I'm actually going to probably tab as I read, because I missed a lot in Sleeping Giants. I had gotten the audiobook, and I don't remember what was going on, but I just remember having a busy few days, and it was almost on as background noise, which is not, you know, a good idea for a fantasy novel setting up a trilogy. With new things I needed to learn. I should have put on something I had listened to before instead, but I didn't. So I bought physical copies of all 3 books, and I think I'm going to do a vlog rereading the first one and then obviously completing the series. But I absolutely loved that first book, despite the fact that I had it on as background noise and missed chunks of it. The fact that I still love it means that it's got to be damn good. So Sylvania Bell also gets a point for favorite new author. Newest fictional crush, so obviously Gus from not Beach Read, from Books and Lovers, which is weird because I don't normally have fictional crushes. That's not like a thing for me. But my other two I'm going to add into their mix, and this is more so just because I love their banter and I love just them as characters, are Veronica and Stoker from the Veronica Speedwell series. They're just so fun together, and I just love their banter. Stoker is the male version of me. He's a Taurus and everything, and we absolutely stan. And then also my newest favorite character is Veronica. I love her. She's spicy. She says what she wants when she wants. She does what she wants when she wants. And all of that while being in a time period piece of a novel. I feel like she's in the late 1800s or something. So the fact that she's so brazen and strong like that means the potential for a lot of consequences in that time period. And yet she doesn't really care and she does it anyway. So absolutely love her. The next question is a book that made you cry. I'm not really sure that I have tear ducts, if we're being honest. It takes a lot for me to cry, and when I do, it's like a single tear for 3 seconds, and then it's over because I'm just not a crier. But a book that made me feel a lot and made me think I was going to cry, or gave me that, you know, that like feeling you get in your chest where you're like, oh, if I cried, it'll relieve that feeling. Books that gave me that feeling, Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. I absolutely loved that book. It was one of the first ones I read this year. It's a memoir, and it's her literally crying inside of an H Mart, which is a Korean grocery store, after losing her mother, and she's kind of mourning what she's lost, a little bit of what she could have had, and then also she's mourning mostly because I think her dad is white and her mom is Korean, so she's mourning her connection to Korean culture, and you know, just that ability to go home and your mom is cooking something on the stove that you just can't get somewhere else. It's like, yeah, you could go to a Korean restaurant, but, and I think we, from people from any other cultures especially, can kind of understand it's like, when your mom or whoever that person is for you makes you a meal that, like, even though you could technically go buy it somewhere else, like, it's not going to taste nearly as good. It's just not. Gordon Ramsay himself could make it for you, and it's not going to taste as good as your mom's. Like, it's just not going to. And because there's a history there, and there's a comfort there, and there's a love there. And so she's talking through that and made me very hungry while also making me want to cry over some takeout. So take with that what you will, but I absolutely loved it. It was incredible. And then on the flip side, books that made you happy. Actually I have two by Alexandria Bellafleur. I read Hang the Moon and Count Your Lucky Stars. These two books are in the same series. It's a romance series, which I say series, but it's in that way where it's romance and you can read them whatever order, but they're technically books 2 and 3 in that series, and I absolutely love them. Alexandria Bellafleur does so well with contemporary romance of, she's one of those romance authors that gives you some substance while also keeping things pretty light. In Hang the Moon, I believe that one's the one, which is funny to say, is one of the only books she has with a straight couple of that series. Everyone else, I think, are lesbians. And I remember, I think the heroine's name was Annie in that one, or Anne. And I just remember her having a lot of anxiety and fear that was very valid and normal. I feel like she had like moved across the country or something, or was contemplating it. And she was just in the midst of a lot of life changes. And I just love the way Alexandria Bellafleur handled that. It just made it very real and concrete and relatable. And she just does that with at least one of her main characters, if not both, in each book that she writes. And I really, really enjoy that from her. The next question is the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. I haven't been buying a lot of books, and when I have, it's mostly out of like, necessity is the wrong word, but like, scarcity actually. Like some of them are for series. Like I started purchasing the Expanse series books because I tried audio for those and I had a hard time like following along and needed a physical copy. But those are not pretty. They're sci-fi books, which is like, not to say sci-fi books can't be pretty, but they're sci-fi books from a certain time, and we all just know that those were not meant to be pretty. But I don't really have any that are pretty, but I do have one that I found really unique, and it's actually Beasts of a Little Land by Juhea Kim. I don't know if I'm saying that person's name right. I'm so sorry if this is wrong, but look at that. There's something, and I know it's because, I think why I'm so drawn to this is I love covers that have a lot of imagery to them, not just physically, but like, I'm sure this tiger stands for something. I'm sure this crane in the back stands for something. There's another one here at the top. and these plants and things. Like, I just feel like with books like this is a historical, I'm pretty sure, set in 1917 in Korea. I find that with books like this, where they're like a literary fiction with the historical aspect to it, that are more serious, whenever they have covers like this, typically they're very representative of things in the story, either literally or figuratively. And so something about the composition of this I also really like. Like, I don't know, there's something about this slant that goes here that like very much cuts it apart, which I don't know if that's a metaphor for North and South Korea or what, but I really like the way it looks. So that's the most unique cover I've purchased this year. I haven't really purchased anything for pretty covers. Oh, you know what? I'm a dirty liar. Hold on. I did. I bought Gallant by V.E. Schwab, and I think this is in the Owl Crate edition, maybe? I forget whose edition it is. It's one of the crates, but absolutely love this. I wanted an all black version, and I got an all black version, even with the sprayed edges. So that's another one that has a pretty or unique cover. I really enjoyed that. And the last question is, what books do you need to read before the end of the year? I don't have any that I'm like, oh, I absolutely need to read this. I'm literally 3 books away from hitting my reading goal for the year, and it's July 2nd. So I feel like everything that I had planned and wanted to read for the year, I already did. So now I just feel like it's a free-for-all, and that anything after the next 3 books is just bonus. It's just fun. So I don't really have anything in particular. I do know I want to read more Brandon Sanderson. And I also feel like Sylvain Neuvel came out with a new book that's outside of that trilogy I was talking about, so I want to look at that too. And then from there, it'll probably just be a shit ton of romance. I recently have gotten into Kindle Unlimited thanks to Chandler from Chandler Ainsley. I follow her on Instagram. She's posted a couple excerpts of things. I'm like, Chandler, what's up, Ron? You gotta tell me. I can't wait for your video to come out. And then she tells me that I devour. I absolutely have been devouring Kindle Unlimited romances. Who is she? I don't know. But I'm having a good time. So if you have any recommendations, would love to see. I want to know, you know, what you thought of some of these questions. If you had answers that you're like, ooh, I think you would really like this book, tell me. Or if you have something that you just want to share with the class, if you want someone to read a book that you're like, no one's talking about this, please read it. Read it and talk about it, gush about it, love it as much as I do. Put it in the comments. And with that said, let's leave. Ooh, what emoji do we want to leave? I don't know. Oh, ooh, I'm looking at an octopus. Is there an octopus emoji? I'm pretty sure there is. I have a little crocheted octopus on my bookshelves. Yeah, put the little red octopus emoji in if you've made it this far. And until next time, you guys have yourself a good morning, afternoon, evening, or wherever you are in the world, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.